Hey guys, today I'm going to do a video on this Tele I built back in July. I thought y'all might like to see it. Getting into quite a bit of detail on how everything's assembled on it. About this time last year I was working on my white strat. I did a video on it back in March, I believe it was. You can go back on my channel there and look at it if you're interested in how a strat's put together. I didn't go into much detail on it as I did on this one, but it's pretty much a standard Telecaster style guitar. This is a tone knob, this is a volume knob with a treble bleed capacitor and the standard three-way switch. Middle positions, both of them are in phase, of course. And the string through, I'll show you the ferrules on the back. Don't have a sunburst on the back, it's just a deep red. And there's the ferrules you can see. And I put my initials up there on the headstock and the date I built it, and stuck a music note on there. Thought it looked kind of neat. 21 fret neck. This neck's blemished. The body is too, for that matter. I'll try to show you the blemishes here. On the neck, you can see like a little dent in the fingerboard right there, and another spot up there, and I think there's another one on the back, but not that big a deal. I bought it unfinished and finished it in spray lacquer. And the body is a lightweight body. It's Paonia, however you pronounce that. I think that's how it's pronounced. Seems like to me it's too soft, and the screws really want to try to strip out. They always want to, as soon as you get them snug, it seems like they're stripped out. And I like ash or alder or poplar. That's my choices when body woods. The neck's maple. It's two-piece, and it don't have the skunk stripe. So right there's another blemish on the neck. And the blemishes on the body, right there's one. Get a pretty good dent right there. And on the back, there's another dent right here. I'm not too concerned about that because it's the back. I got a pretty good deal on the neck and the body because of them blemishes on it. I'll put a link in the description to the bridge pickup and the neck pickup. I'm not completely satisfied with the neck pickup on this. It's actually a little weak for the bridge. The bridge is 6.3K. The neck pickup reads about 5.5K. So it's not a very good match because that's a 43 gauge wire in that, and 42 in the bridge. I'm eventually going to replace the neck pickup. When I do, I'll make an update video on this so you can hear what it sounds like after that. Neck looks too white because it's unfinished. That's the headstock design I won't be using. It's my own design. And I'm going to stain this neck to a yellowish color. Not quite as yellow as that part of the body, just like a vintage amber yellowish tint to it. Basically what I'm going to try to do on it. This headstock design's never been used before as far as I can tell. I've never seen anything exactly like this. And I'll be staining the back of it and the fingerboard here, then clear coating it in lacquer. This is a cherry sunburst body. That there's the only blemish I can see in it. A little dent right here and here. Well, I got the neck on the guitar body now. Oops. You see that gold's gonna look pretty good on there. If I don't tear it up in the process of showing you. Here's my initials on there. 2012 for the year I was building it, and a music note. And y'all on YouTube here will like this. Turn it over here. I'll put my YouTube name on the back of it. And another music note. I did all this in lacquer, spray can lacquer. And on the back of this, I scuffed this down so it's real smooth, like a satin finish. You can see the back of this turned out kind of bad. I don't know why, but I'm going to try to rub it out a little bit and make it look a little better. If you see how that's kind of just dull looking compared to the rest of it, you know. Now the way I check to see if the neck is parallel with the bridge, you see on this body, the holes are pre-drilled here. This is for the string through. Because on the back, there's ferrules on the back. So the way I do this, take a piece of line, this is fishing line, and I hold it where the string would be, and you can measure it where it's at on the fret. I'm just eyeballing it. You make sure you get it on there. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's about the same. I'm going to rub this fingerboard out. You can see there's a few imprints on there. As you can see, this is my regular workbench. I just got a moving blanket down on top of it so I don't have to worry about scratching it up. And on my drill press, when I was drilling out the neck holes, I just put a towel over top of it here so I don't have to worry about scratching it up. That seems to work pretty good. Okay, here's a few of the parts I got. I went with a square jack plate instead of the traditional Tele plate that goes up in the side there. Those are hard to do and I don't have the tool to do that. And a gold plated control plate, gold pick guard screws, gold neck. I want to drill holes in this pick guard so I can adjust it. That's the screws for the pickup. If you decide to drill out the holes on here, put the pickup in upside down. Make sure you get it centered. Then mark the hole on the pickup and then just drill it out and you're ready to go. Okay, here it is after I got that in there. I went ahead and took the film off of this. You can see on the back of them. These are Alnico magnets in this. Okay, now I'm going to get ready to put the control plate on. Now what I did, I just went ahead and stuck a couple pots in there, potentiometers. These ain't the ones I'm going to be using. I just put these in there to help me line it up. I'll show you why in a second. Once you get the pick guard on here, the control plate goes in here like this. And I wanted to make sure I get enough clearance in there. And you can see that's the volume control is hitting the cavity in here. So I want to get everything lined up right. I'm trying to keep the gap as less as I can over here at the neck. Right there it is. And then it don't line up. So the pick guard is going to have to go just a little bit like at an angle. And this space here, I'm going to compromise it right in the middle. And I'm going to mark the screws and put them in there. Well, at this point, I got all the pick guard screws in it. Got the pickup in there. Routed the wire down here to the control cavity, so I don't have to fool taking the pick guard off again to hook up the neck pickup. I will be taking the control plate back off and getting these pots out of it. I'll be putting better quality ones in here. And I'll be getting a gold bridge for it. I'm getting ready to put the jack on it now. And here's the jack plate after I got it on there. I'll be putting a different jack in it too. I had that one laying around. That's actually a stereo jack. That's why I'll be using another one. Okay, it's a month later and I now have all the parts I need for it. On the control plate where the pots will mount or potentiometers, I ran into a problem. These are 3/8 and this must be like a metric size. So I'm going to have to drill these out. Okay, on the control plate, you want to make sure you get it the right way. You see how this side's kind of dull? This is the finished side here. Now the way you want to put these in here, you want one like this, and the other one like this, with the legs facing each other. It makes it easier. Then put a washer on the inside side of it, right here, like this. And you got a lock washer and a nut. For right now, just get it finger tight. Now also note, these are CTS 250K pots. Solid shaft, brass. Now when you tighten this, be sure that you use a socket. Don't use a wrench on it, or a pair of pliers. And you want to hold it back here, just get you a socket, turn it like that, pretty tight. You don't want to put a ratchet on there, you get it too tight and strip out, it's just brass. About like that. It'll be there forever. Okay, this is a CRL 3-way switch. Your standard Telecaster switch. It's 3-position. First thing you want to do, you want to get your screws out of it and take the knob off. And you can put the switch in this way or upside down. It's up to you. It don't matter. It's the same electrically. And you want to line it up. I just personally like to have the spring up. No particular reason. It's just and again, you don't want to get these real tight. We'll hold off and put the knob on there. At this point, it might be a good idea to test fit your knob that you'll be putting on there. You see it fits solid and it's got a This type here has a set screw in it. And if you're building a guitar like this and you want to use gold hardware but you're afraid of the cost, it only brought the cost of the project up about $20 or $30 buying everything in gold, so it really ain't that bad. Okay, this is just sitting on here for right now just so I can show you all. Next thing I'm going to work on, I'm going to get the bridge mounted. Now this body came painted and routed when I bought it. The hardest part's already done. They drilled the holes through here, which when you put your bridge on here, you line them up. You line them up and make sure your pickup sits in here. And you square it up just a little bit like this and you got it. Before you can mount the bridge, you got to mount the bridge pickup in it. I'll get into detail on this one on the description underneath the video here. I'll tell you where you can get one like this and information about the neck pickup as well. I want to talk a little bit about string grounding. If you ever play, especially a single coil guitar, as soon as you let go of the strings, it buzzes like a 60 cycle hum, and when you touch the strings, it quietens down. The reason for that is because the ground is tied into the strings through the bridge. There's two ways you can do it. Now on this type of pickup with the brass bottom like this, it's actually a brass plated steel or copper plated steel, it's got a ground on it. You can see it right here, the ground is tied into it. But if you have a pickup without the base plate on the bottom, you have to run a wire up underneath here so it comes in contact and run it over to your grounds over here on the electronics. That way your strings get grounded that way. But since this has a brass or metal bottom on the bottom of it, when your screws go through it, they ground out and it comes in contact with the metal bridge and it grounds your strings. Now for your height adjustment on your pickup, where you raise and lower it, you get 3 screws, and then you have a choice of metal springs. And actually these are for a strat pickup, these small ones here that are cone shaped. The one for a Tele is just a long cylinder spring. And you got the option of using tubing like this. It's like a surgical tubing. And it works well too. And this is what they used in the vintage guitars most of the time. If you use springs instead of the tubing, remember that they can cause microphonics. They can actually vibrate with the strings and the pickup can pick it up. So keep that in mind. Basically what you want to do, put a screw through it and put the tubing on it. I think these are cut a little too long, so I might have to trim them. And that's one more little detail I'll bring up. My screws for the mounting the bridge pickup are chrome, so they're not going to match this exactly. I was thinking about getting black ones to match your intonation adjusting screws on there. Okay, you can see that I got them all on here about the same. About the way you'd want it. Just set it on here. Get your screws lined up. And you can start them. Keep moving on me. Now if you're using the springs, sometimes they're harder to work with than this. You have to hold the spring and do one screw at a time. On these you can just do them all 3 like I just did here. And there's the bridge and bridge pickup, you can see. And also note this has cloth wiring, and that's what I'm wiring this whole guitar with, is cloth covered wiring, just like an old guitar. I don't know how well you can tell, but this wire here has a standard modern installation like a PVC installation. And this one here has a cloth. And when you get ready to use it, you just grab a hold of it and push it back. It's called pushback wire. It's a nickname for it. And the wire is already tinned inside of it. It's much easier to work with than your newer type of wire. Another reason I prefer to use this cloth wire instead of the modern type of installation like the PVC is because you don't have to strip it. And when you get your wire soldered like on your switch and you have to strip the other end of it, you take a chance of bending or pulling it off the switch. And I just find it a lot easier and I guess you could say more efficient when you work with cloth wire. But sometimes you may not have room for it because it is just a little bit bigger than the regular wire. Not by much, but it can get in your way sometimes if it's too big, especially if you're doing a lot of switches, like your mini switches on there. That can cause a problem. But overall, I like this a lot better than any other type of wire I've ever used. And don't forget to feed your wire through the hole here. coming off your bridge pickup. Sometimes it can be stubborn, may have to do one wire at a time. Okay, just got the wire through. Now we got to position the bridge. You see you got quite a bit of room to work with in here. But you want to be careful, you don't want the pickup binding, so if it binds then you're going to have trouble adjusting the height of it. And I'm pretty sure I done made a little mistake when I put the pick guard on. If you look, when I line up the holes, and it's square, see how that does? It should be like this. I'm going to check it in a minute, so when I get the gap right here, I'm going to see if it's square or parallel with the neck. Well guys, I did screw up just a little bit, and that's where it's going to have to be right there. It ain't really that bad. If you look over here at the neck pocket, you can actually see where I screwed up. It's touching here, but there's a little tiny gap up here. Now it ain't going to affect anything except looks. It ain't going to affect the intonation or the sound of it or anything like that. But you almost have to be looking for this to see it. I mean, you're not going to just notice it. And you also have to get the spacing right, like this. If you get too low or too high, your strings are going to be changing down here. You might have a string hanging off if you get too far out. So we're going to have to simulate a string on here. Okay, when you're testing for an alignment, you want to take a peel. Like this is a piece of fishing line, like any twine or anything like that would work. You want to hold it on the saddle where the string's going to be. You want to note where it's at here, the distance between here, and where it's riding on the pole, the magnet on the pickup. This looks just about right. I think the bridge needs to come up just a little tiny bit. Like that right there. Let's check it again. I don't know how well y'all gonna see this. I might be blocking you, but that's it. Now you want to mark at least 2 of your 4 mounting screws. That way we can drill it and then put the screws in. Now I ain't going to video me mounting the bridge and drilling the holes because it's too time consuming to get it in case I move it or something. It just makes the video too long, so we'll just jump ahead here in a minute. And also keep an eye on your string through holes here to make sure that your holes line up over here. Okay, I don't know how well you can tell, but I went ahead and marked the holes. Now I want to get the drill bit, but a little bit smaller than this, because if you drill it out too big, your screws won't take a hold. Now, I just marked the center of it, and I got to find the center of each one of these screws and drill it out. Okay, I just put the last screw in it. You can see it's going to look pretty good. Also, I'm going to show you another feature on this bridge. This bridge is a dual loading bridge. So you can put the strings through the body and have a ferrule on the back, which is what I'm going to be doing. Or you can set it up as a top load and feed your strings through here. But a string through is usually most recommended because it gives more sustain and it's supposed to give you better tone. And in my opinion, on a soft body guitar like this Pioneer, I don't really know exactly how you pronounce it, but when you run it through like this, all the force of the strings is on your 4 mounting screws. If you run it through the back, most of your string pressure is on the ferrule, so it's just pulling on the wood pretty much. And there's not that much, not quite as much stress on these screws. The next thing we're going to do is put the tuners on it. It may be easier to do this with the neck off. So you may want to do this before you bolt the neck up on the body. It's just up to you. And this is the type of tuner I'll be using. These are split shaft. Now your ferrules will press into, or bushing will press into this side right here, like this. You want a good snug fit on these. Okay, I got all the bushings installed. Okay, I've already done a test fit, but I wanted to show you all how these tuners work. Now, you probably think you do one at a time, and you have to line it up. Well, with this type, you don't. If your holes are spaced right, that is. You start putting them in there. After you get the third one on there, it automatically lines them all up. Now you have to pop them in a little bit. See how it does? It automatically lines them all up for you. I actually had to file this one, as you can see, to get it to fit right. It basically lines them all up for you. Got a slight problem here. This first one overhanging about 1/16 of an inch. I'm not going to worry about it. what it is, the holes were drilled just slightly too close to this. This was a blemished neck anyway, and that might be one of the blemishes in it. Now, all of these share a screw, so one screw holds two of them together, except on the ends. So you got one here and one on the end down there. I'm going to go and get all these in. And there it is after they're all in it. If you turn it over, you can see the other side. I think they're going to look pretty good on there. Now I'll just go do all the wiring. I'm not going to make a video of me wiring it. I'll do a video afterward to show you what it looks like. And about right now in the video, I'll put in a picture of a schematic for a Telecaster, so you know how to wire it. And here's the wiring after I got it done. Not the neatest, but it'll work. And here it is with the knobs on it. These are pretty simple to put on. You just got a little set screw here on both of them. It's a straight screwdriver. Some of them are an Allen wrench drives. But I kind of use them as a position marker too. That way you know where they're at on there, and your knob just pushes on there like that. And I went ahead and put the strings on it. Now on these string trees, get your strings on here with low tension on there. That way you can set this one here and automatically lines it up for you. And you go ahead and drill it and put a screw in it. This actually should be about over here, but I didn't want to put it in to interfere with this. And sometimes you have another one on this. I didn't think it was really necessary. But I think it turned out pretty good. In the video of me building it, you see it had a black nut on it. I actually had to change that out because the strings was really high on it, and I was trying to get them lower. I was planning on just filing the bottom of the nut and putting the same one back in it, but it broke when I was taking it out because they had it glued in, so I put a white nut on it. I think that looks better anyway, really. Another minor detail I changed the screws on this jack plate. You see they're black now. And the old ones were pickguard screws like this, and they were sticking out because these weren't countersunk like a pickguard screw is. So they were sticking up and it didn't look right, so I put them on there. I'm also using flat wound strings on it. I don't know how well you can tell, but they're flat wound. And it's got a wound third string, so only the first and second strings are plain. This is a wound third, which I really like it. Kind of tones that string down. The way I play the a plain third string kind of stands out too much. I just don't like round wound strings. I like flat wounds because they're toned down quite a bit and seem like they have more punch and depth to them. Round wounds just sound thin to me, just too much treble on them. I have three effects pedals, a delay pedal, a tremolo, and this overdrive pedal, which I only kept because of that mixer output. It's got two outputs. If you come off this one, it simulates an amp cabinet and makes it sound less treble and just sounds more realistic than it does when you come straight off the amp jack like you normally would. Then it feeds into the tube preamp, then into the mixer, then my computer. Okay, the sound sample you're getting ready to hear, I'm not actually playing any song yet. I'm just playing a few chords in a strum I did. If you seen my last video on the guitar, that white strat, I'm doing pretty much the same thing on it. I'll start with the bridge pickup, then both pickups, and just a neck pickup. Then I'll go through the sounds again, playing with the tone control, let you hear what it sounds like. And your volume is just a standard volume. Well guys, I guess that's about it. If you got any questions or comments or suggestions or anything, just leave me a comment or send me a message. Or if you're just curious to where I got a certain part you've seen on the guitar, feel free to ask me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Also in the description below I put a link to the pickups I used, where you can check that out. Well, thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all in the next video.